Welcome to Transform Perspective with Kyrah. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. If you're new to Transform Perspective, welcome. And if you've been here before, thank you for tuning in again, like I said. Let me tell y'all. So I got my hair flat iron, silk pressed, to the T. And it was nice, It was very nice. And then, of course, I step outside. If you're from the South or any place with high humidity, you already know what I'm about to say. And you can tell. And Mufasa. So I was like, you know what? We're just gonna rock with Mufasa today because you know what? It is what it is. Okay? The fact that I was able to enjoy straight hair for a couple hours was good enough. And so now we're back with this and we're gonna rock with it. I just want to say that. So if you are someone with curly hair, natural hair, and you live in a place with high humidity, bless your heart, you're not the only one out there. Just rock the puffiness. It's okay. It's okay. I just wanted to put that out there before I got into this episode. But yeah, let's get straight into it. Today is all about embracing imperfections. That's the topic for this episode. If you haven't already subscribed to Transform Perspective, make sure you do so. It's important. And I love the support and the caring you guys tuning in. It means a lot. Stay updated with all the latest content and Relevant, which is my new journal business. If you haven't checked out the launch video, definitely go do that. But stay tuned for everything that's coming up, So when it comes to embracing imperfections, that could look different for everybody, Some people are able to do that more easily than others. Some people struggle with it more. I'm just gonna come right off the bat and say perfectionism was a pattern of mine it was tough, okay? Especially when you're dealing with always having to have things right or your way or perfect, whether you're struggling also with like OCD, or just like expectations that you put on yourself or that society puts on you. It's a whole list of different things. And we can get caught up in this idea that we have to be a certain way or have to look a certain way or have to act a certain way to please other people or to fit this image of what we think we're supposed to be. And as we get kind of caught up in that, we lose ourselves. You don't technically ever lose who you truly are, but we lose the knowing and the connection within ourselves when we try to be something that we're not, or when we try to, be so hard on ourselves for not, meeting a certain expectation or goal or idea that we've placed on ourselves or other people have placed on us. So learning to embrace imperfections, it's major and it's important when it comes to your well-being, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, so on and so forth, even financially and relationally, all the leads. It applies and it matters. Learning to be okay with who you are and where you are, that's the start. And it's not always easy to do that. It's not always easy to look yourself in the mirror and embrace who you are and be okay with whatever place you're in right now. And like I said, this can be in any area of your life, Maybe you're in a place where you don't feel as confident about your physical looks, or maybe your body has changed, or maybe it's finances, and this is not even just like a negative thing. This could also be a positive thing. Like maybe you have a lot of money, but it's, you're constantly trying to hold on to it. Or maybe you are older and you're trying to hold on to your younger self or your younger looks or your younger ways, or even just like patterns and identities. I can go on. It's a long list, but we all know that this applies to anything and everything when it comes to, perfections and these expectations and stuff. And so one thing that I had to do with myself is ask myself, what is perfection? Because we're talking about embracing the imperfections, but it starts with this idea of perfect that you have. What is that? And so one day I actually sat down and I wrote down what that meant for me. And it actually showed me a lot about myself, a lot about like my belief systems, how I view myself, how I view my world or the world, and the people around me. And that essentially changed my perspective because I realized a lot of it rooted to things that I did not even know. And it didn't make sense when I actually questioned what perfection was. So I think that is a great place to start is ask yourself, whether you're writing this down or you just ask yourself aloud, what is perfection? What does that mean? And what area of your life, do you feel there are blockages or, areas where you feel maybe stuck or lost or down or just areas of your life that you've tried to avoid because it doesn't match this idea of perfection? So what is perfection and what area do you feel is not meeting that expectation? Like I said, financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, relationally. I think I repeated one of those twice. Ask yourself those two questions, okay? It's like a little writing prompt in there for y'all, just a little sprinkle, because it helps to question yourself, to question everything, especially our thought process and our beliefs. And so I feel like before you can get to a place where you can embrace your imperfections, you have to identify what perfect means to you and the areas that you may be struggling in or avoiding or those ideas that you've built off of perfection, So yeah, start there for sure. But when it comes to embracing the imperfections, it's a practice. It's a practice. It's a day-to-day thing because we have our moments. And you know that. We all know that. We have our moments where we can embrace, our ups, our downs, our mistakes, the things that we feel are imperfect. And we have our days where we totally lose sight of that. But I think you definitely have to start with what perfect means for you, and then practice in your day-to-day life to just flow. Flow with life, flow with yourself, because we continuously grow, we continuously evolve, and things takes turns, and life is not predictable. Nothing is predictable. So I think that also helps you learn to embrace your perfection is when you start to accept and realize that it's unexpected. It's, you're not going to know everything. Everything is not going to go your way. And when you can start to accept that, see it for what it is, and you can start to embrace it within yourself and in your life, those things that seem imperfect. Honestly, I feel like the things that we think are imperfect are perfect as they are. But when you put an expectation or some type of end goal or some type of, try to put something in the box and it's not fitting in that box, you say it's imperfect. But you're perfect as you are. Really, that doesn't mean that you can't grow. That doesn't mean that you can't learn. That doesn't mean you can't mature and evolve as a human being. But it just means that everything is meant as is meant. You have the power to change those things. You have the power to embrace those things, but you don't have to beat yourself up about it. I think that's kind of where I'm going. It's like those areas of your life or those areas within yourself that you feel like could be different or better. You don't have to force yourself to try to fix it or change it and fit into a box. And that's essentially what you're doing when you have these expectations and these identities, which we all do. We all do. Whether we like it or not, we all do, because we are born into a world where, we come in fresh. Out the womb, everything is new. Everything is like, there's so much curiosity, and we're taught things along the way. We learn things along the way. And for most, if not all people, we start to build who we are based off of those things that we learn and see. And we forget about, the true core of who we are before all of that. And so it's like unpacking all of that and seeing you for who you are and showing up for you as you are. Not neglecting yourself, not putting yourself last, prioritizing your well-being, putting you first, not allowing other people to treat you any type of way. Like, it really starts there. And that's how you can start to embrace those quote unquote imperfections, those things about yourself you may not like or want to change. You can see them for what they are and remember that they don't define you. And maybe it's not that those things make you imperfect, but maybe it's your expectation of perfection and your idea of what perfect is, that is really getting in the way of you seeing you for who you are and really accepting yourself and those quote unquote imperfections. I think it really comes down to, like I said, your perspective of it, the definition, the expectation, the belief that you put on yourself, on life, and on other people. But that's just kind of like my thought on it, is like, what is imperfect? What is perfection? I mean, there's good and bad. There's, and we can get into all of that. But I'm saying, I guess when you're talking about yourself, that's something for you to determine, really. But learning to embrace it starts with the small things. When you mess up or do something that you want to do differently, or that you wish you had done differently, a mistake or whatever, not beating yourself up so much about it. Hold yourself accountable, but it doesn't have to be the end all be all, because whatever mistakes you make, whatever things you could have done differently, you learn from them. There's a lesson in it, and that's a part of your evolution, and that's a part of your growth. So if you don't allow yourself to experience those mistakes and those quote unquote imperfections, you never get to discover yourself. You never get to live life. You never get to grow and evolve, which essentially I think is what we're meant to do here, is to live, to experience, to grow, to evolve, to change. Because that's what everything, in this world does. Everything is evolving. Everything is changing. Everything is uncertain. And so as you start to embrace that within yourself, in your life, and your experiences, you can be more grounded, more balanced within yourself, more mentally, emotionally, and spiritually well, healthy. You can heal in many different ways on an internal level, but also externally. Your life may change physically, financially, and relationally. These words are hard to say. When you start to just accept you for who you are and accept your experiences for what they are. It doesn't mean just give up and say, I'm just going to accept the situation that I'm in and, do nothing. But this kind of ties into my video where I talked about acceptance. I think embracing your imperfection starts with that acceptance. And then from there, you can have this confidence and this kind of like flow with it, where you're not going up against all these different blocks and different things in your life. It's just like you power through despite anything that comes in your way or come up against you. It's just, you love you for you, and you start to embrace other people. You're not quick to just turn the hand on people because of their imperfections. When you start to embrace the quote unquote imperfections within yourself, the things that you may want to change, the things you don't like, the things that you see as imperfect, when you start to embrace that, accept it for what it is, not holding yourself accountable, but when you start to see it and say, okay, this is here, this is here. It doesn't totally define me, but it's there. And when you can accept it, you can begin to do that for other people. You can begin to embrace them and love them unconditionally and forgive them. And same thing with life. That doesn't mean don't have boundaries. That doesn't mean let people treat you any kind of way. That doesn't mean treat yourself any kind of way. It's having those healthy boundaries, but that starts with you. That starts with you not giving up on yourself. That starts with you loving yourself no matter what. And you have to learn what that means for you. And I've also said this in other videos. We use different words like love yourself and love and this and that. And it's great. But I think those definitions truly is something that only you can know for yourself. I think it goes beyond definition what that means. And so as you go about your day-to-day life and you learn and you experience and you make mistakes and you get back up, you realize what that is. You remember what that is at your core. And I think that is unexplainable. And so we try our best. And sometimes we end up putting ourselves or other people into a box because of that. So not focusing so much on definitions. When you want to reflect and look at like your core beliefs and why you think the way you do and where this is coming from, yes, reflect and look at, okay, what does this mean to me? But when you're moving forward in a new way, you don't have to focus so much on the words and what they mean, more of the feeling and the experiences that you have. What does it feel like to embrace your imperfections? What does it feel like to just accept you for who you are? What does it feel like to be okay even when things don't go your way? What does that feel like? What does that experience? What does that mean for you? And if you can't explain it, that's okay. But I think embracing your perfections, it starts with you, and it's going to be a unique experience for everyone. And it's going to be, hardships. It's going to be some tough times and some good times. And that's really all I have to say about that. It's because it's just your own personal experience, and everybody's idea of their imperfections is maybe different from the next. Something you think is perfect may be imperfect to somebody else. It's like that example of when somebody sees the beauty and the light and love in you, and sometimes we don't see it in ourselves. Sometimes we may beat ourselves up and say, oh, look at my nose, or look at this, or look at what I don't have. And other people are admiring what you can't see. So I feel like sometimes that happens, and that relates to embracing your imperfection is its definition. Basically is what I'm trying to say. It goes down to what does that mean for you? Because that's going to look different for other people. But I definitely think sitting with yourself, writing, taking time to reflect and come back to what it means for you will help you embrace those imperfections, embrace those things that are out of your control, embrace those things that maybe you struggle with, and not allow it to define you or stop you from living life, stop you from learning, stop you from growing, stop you from experiencing, because that's when it becomes a real problem or issue or block, is when you allow it to stop you. And we've all been there and done that. Maybe not all of us, but most of us has been in a place where, it's really dark, and it's really depressing, and it's really horrible when we get to a place where those expectations and ideas and limiting beliefs can have you in a chokehold and really keep you stuck. But like I said, day by day, as you take these small steps to learn about yourself and get to the root of these beliefs, you can change them, and you can start to embrace them and see them for what they are, and think differently about yourself and think differently about life, and have a transformed perspective about it all, within and without. And that really ties into Transform Perspective, this podcast, and everything that I'm sharing from my experience and thoughts and life and my own perspective. It comes back to this idea of perfection and Transform Perspective, having this new awareness and outlook on life that allows you to see things differently. Maybe you have this idea of it has to go this way. Everything has to be like this. It has to go like this. I have to be like this, act like this, look like this. And life shows you. No, you don't. Life gives you lessons. You experience different things that will change your perspective, which is your world. The world that you live in is based off of what you see, is based off of what's in here. Your beliefs, what you think about yourself, your experiences. It starts in here. It's reflected outwards. And right here, your eyes is exactly what connects the two. Physically, but then also spiritually, connects the two worlds, your inside world and your outer world. And so this idea of perfection is really kind of what led me here in a way, especially when, you struggle with that, which many people do, if not all of us, in some point of our life will struggle with this idea of perfection, and trying to keep up with the Joneses and trying to do what other people want us to do and trying to figure out, well, what do I want to do? And being able to allow yourself to freely explore that and live life, because that's what it's all about. If you're trying to stay in this box and go with what is quote unquote perfect for you, you may be hindering your growth, and your potential by doing that. So learning to be okay with the unknown, learning to be okay with the imperfections is the start for embracing them. Because it's going to be there, but it doesn't have to define you, and it doesn't have to hold you down. And I think that is a great start in learning to embrace it and being confident within yourself, and where you are and who you are, no matter the circumstance, no matter what you've been through, no matter where you are, just saying, okay, this is what it is. Returning to the present moment, focusing on the breath, because that's all there really is, remembering that you don't know what's to come. You don't know how long you're here, but you're here. And it's perfect as it is. And if there's anything that you want to change and anything that you want to be different, it'll change. And you can set intentions and you can take action in whatever way you need to. It doesn't have to be a forceful way of trying to fix yourself. And force it. It can flow and you can learn how to do that. And that's kind of what I'm talking about in all these different episodes. It all kind of comes to that acceptance and learning to embrace your imperfections and flow with life, because life is so unpredictable. And the sooner you are okay with it and embrace it and flow with the wave of life, the current of the ocean, the more grounded, balanced, and at peace I think we'll all be. So that's all I really have for this episode. I didn't really know what I was going to say about embracing imperfections. I could go on and on, but that's just where I am with this whole topic and idea of perfection. I'm still learning myself because, like I said, these habits and stuff that we have, we may learn to work with it and work through it, but sometimes they creep back up on us. And that's okay, because that just means that there's more for you to learn. There's more for you to release, and there's more for you to receive, whether that be a new mindset or new ways of doing things and taking action in a new way, accepting yourself, healing in a new way, or letting go of some things. And it's just part of the process. Feel free to share in the comments. Don't forget to like this video. If you enjoyed this topic, this conversation, please let me know. Share with any loved ones, friends, or anyone who you think may benefit from this conversation. I know it's just kind of me talking, so it's like, how was a conversation, but this topic. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe to Transform Perspective. There's also a free 15-minute guided meditation for deep relaxation in the description below. Definitely get on that email list so you can stay updated with Transform Perspective as well as Relevance. There's so much more to come, so definitely stay tuned. And yeah, remember, it is not about perfection, but committing to expansion. Perfect for this episode. Have a transformed perspective.